DOJ, HHS, ED, and GSA announced initial cancellation of grants and contracts to Columbia University worth $400 million. Okay? Now, this is definitely a ridiculous thing that they're doing. And if college campuses don't quickly recognize that this is going to inevitably turn on them as well, okay? If their reaction to this is, no, you don't understand. We need to suppress more Israel criticism, as a matter of fact, and capitulate to this administration instead of trying to engage them in a legal battle by utilizing the pre-existing First Amendment rights that you have at your disposal to defend you, okay? You are cooked. This is the same playbook, okay? McCarthyism will not stop at what these people claim is anti-Semitic speech.
Go to Dylan Sawa's Twitter. He had a good response.
You always glazing Dylan.
Always
dude.
Glazing my man Dylan.
Yeah, no, he does have great.
He does have
he has
and
great,
also this
he has
is
great
his
thoughts.
Yeah,
he has great thoughts and great statements.
And this is his this is his job. He thinks about this stuff a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here I had already liked it.
Oh wow!
Should
and
be
I'm
clear.
the glazer.
Should be clear to universities that this is a vicious cycle. The repression of student protests is what's causing the escalation that causes demand for more aggressive crackdowns that cause more escalation. The feds and donors and ideologues are thus less and less satisfied. At a certain point, it makes financial sense, on top of the moral obligation to cease funding genocide and apartheid, to just meet the students' demands, actually end the protests, and deal with whatever blowback comes instead of extending the crisis.
Correct.
Because the cancellation, a joint governmental task force on anti-Semitism, announcing the cancellation of $400 million of federal grants to Columbia University with an announcement that more cancellations of grants will follow because they claim that Columbia is not hard enough on their student protesters.
And this is, by the way, this is a starting pistol. This is a way of signaling to like the rest of the fucking this is what we could do to you. I mean, granted, like I'm not. It is really hard for me to imagine like what they can do besides like a somewhat more intensified version of what they're already doing, which is to just like harass anybody who says anything about Palestine in public. You know.
What? But the claim is that if enough people believe criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic, by definition is anti-Semitic. But enough people believe that criticizing Israel is anti-Semitic that if by definition becomes anti-Semitic as minority groups define their oppression.
Time out. Minority groups. Minority groups define their oppression is like not. That is itself like a bit of a glib simplification.
No, he doesn't believe this person.
Cool.
He's just saying that that's like. Also, Zionism is not a minority position, okay? It is not a fucking minority position. It is a fascist ideology that is the majority position in this country. Why? Not because of Jewish people, but because of Christians. The overwhelming majority of evangelical Christians and Christians alike that offer religious justifications for Israel's existence in the violent ways in which it exists. That's it. So it's not like a minority position. It's unironically even by the glib liberal standards of like a minority should not let the majority define the terms of their oppression is better suited when, and something that I actually brought up when talking to Ethan the last time we ever had a debate on this stuff. Where he ended up crying at the end of it because he thought that this chat was too mean to him, calling him a Zionist, which he said was anti-Semitic. Now he also says 90% of Jews are Zionists. So if you call a Jewish person a Zionist, then you're anti-Semitic. But also if you even criticize Zionism, you're also anti-Semitic because all Jews are Zionists and you're using Zionist as a substitute for Jew. That is literally the argument that he brought forward. So, the real minority in this circumstance would be Palestinians, okay? The real victims in this circumstance are the Palestinians. They are the ones who are harmed by Israel's actions, by Israel's ethno-religious supremacist ideology, okay? They are the ones who set and dictate the terms. That is the conversation that we had about from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, okay? He Ethan considered that to be a bridge too far. He considered that to be anti-Semitic. That was my red line. I said, I'm not going to back down from this. It is, I'm not going to allow people who defend Israel to dictate the terms of what that emancipatory slogan means, because that is identical to saying Black Lives Matter means you want to kill white people. Okay? That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous way to that's a ridiculous assessment on an emancipatory slogan. It's just so stupid. Doesn't make any sense.
Like, I emphasize something I was saying earlier about like Zionism as like an ism and Zionism as like a practice, as like a thing in the world. And the idea of like, yeah, like if we were having like this, like, in the imaginary, like set of conversations about like, do Jews get to have a homeland? Like, I guess everybody, like who comes from a place like in that framing, like gets to have a homeland. But like in practice, what we're describing is like, dispossession and oppression sustained over time in the guise of making that homeland. Like, that's just not like you can't, I mean, like if you believe that that's an essential character of like what a people gets to does, like, yeah, that's pretty fascist. That's pretty, that's what, I mean, that's like that is the exact kind of like nationalist like ferment that like we associate with like the worst horrors of the 20th century, whether it's Nazi Germany or the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah. The third Barnard student has been expelled after the U.S. Department of Justice announces it will investigate Colombia. In attempts to appease Zionist donors in the U.S. government, Barnard College has expelled a third student by circumventing anti-corruption measures established after 1968. Harlem, New York. On the afternoon of February 28th, Barnard informed a third student that they'd been expelled for allegedly protesting the university's investment of genocide and allegedly participating in the occupation of Hinds Hall. This comes after the expulsion of two students the week prior for allegedly disrupting a Columbia class called History of Modern Israel. That same day, the U.S. Department of Justice put out a press release announcing a McCarthyite federal task force to quash anti-genocide protests by investigating 10 college campuses, including Columbia University. It's ridiculous. Things are getting worse and worse. This is the one take that I completely disagree with you on, brother. Not one Christian community around the globe says this, nor supports it. It is precisely evangelicals, which I would even question them being questioned. They themselves say they're evangelical more than Christians. My church, literally the Coptic Orthodox Church, had a ban on traveling to Israel. No, dude, I'm talking about America, okay? In the United States of America, evangelicals are an incredibly powerful force in the field of American politics, okay? Since Paul Weyrich, who himself was not evangelical but actually Catholic, recognized the overt white supremacist attitude that evangelical Americans had, evangelical Christians had, the Republican Party has firmly utilized the evangelical base of support as their most loyal soldiers. This is precisely the reason why Republicans often make decisions that make no sense to the average American at the behest of this group of people that are rabid, okay? That is what, and there's a lot of them in comparison to Jewish people. There is a fuck ton more evangelical Christians in this country, okay?